Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Priceless Podcast. My name is Michael Sechen, and as you know by now, this podcast is done in partnership with the European Forum of LGBT Christian Groups. If you want to send a donation for the podcast and or the European Forum, you can find the info about how to do it in the podcast description, and there you will as well find the links if there are any links that we'll put that are connected to the conversation we have today. So our guest today is from London right now, but I won't discover too much because I will ask her to introduce herself. But first, hello, Monika, and welcome to the Priceless Podcast. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you for doing this with us and sharing your story. So maybe you can start with a few words about who is Monika, and I forgot to say your last name, so Monika Bashabe. But tell us a few words about you. Who are you?
Thank you. I'm Monika Bashabe from Uganda originally, living in London. I'm a lesbian.
You said you're a lesbian. Are you? How do you identify with your gender?
I identify myself like a woman who is a lesbian.
Okay. So tell me, you said you are from Uganda. So what can you tell us, first of all, what did it mean to live as a lesbian in Uganda? What is life like for a lesbian in Uganda?
Oh gosh. Living as a lesbian in Uganda, I don't know even how to start it, but it's really, really terrifying that it's hard. It's really hard to live like a lesbian in Uganda, not even only lesbian, as an LGBT person. First of all, you don't express who you are. You are in hiding all the time because of the fear. You don't know who's going to spot that this is a lesbian if you are with a friend. You can't hold hands. So your life is always in that fear that what am I doing with my friend? Maybe there's somebody who's spotting what we are doing or holding hands or kissing, which is hard, which you can't do even in Uganda.
We met before, and you talked also about, that you don't even know who you can tell about yourself being lesbian, because even that can be a danger. Why is that?
You can't trust the people because the country itself doesn't accept that there are LGBT people in the country, which they say that there's nobody who can be a lesbian or a gay person, which they say that those, like, they can say that you have demons on you, you are not a normal person, you can't be with your fellow woman, so you are scared to tell anybody, even to get a friend, your fellow lesbian, to express first. You first get to know who you are talking to. Because if they get to know, especially the community, is the first person or the first community are the people who are very close to you, so you don't know whom you are talking to. If they know that you are a lesbian, they have to kill you, beat you, before even they report you to the authorities. because the authority did put a law that if your neighbor knows that you're a lesbian and they don't report, they are all involved. So the community, if knows that your neighbor knows or your friend knows that you're a lesbian, they will also attack the neighbor. So the community is the first people to attack any LGBT member if they find out. So that's why we are scared in Uganda to come out properly because of the way they treat them.
So what happens? You said that the community actually beats or even kills the LGBT person if they find out. What about the law? What does the law say in Uganda about LGBT people?
So if the community knows and then they report you to the authority just imprison you for life. But before you are in prison for life, of course, there's torture. And you might not be even there for life. Your life is ended immediately because they torture you there. You can't survive. So they imprison you for life.
Wow. Thank you for sharing this. I think for many of us, it's even hard to imagine what it means like. We in many countries have a hard time telling other people, but then even having this fear of losing your life or not knowing that, not being able to trust anyone because you never know who's going to report you at the end, either to the community or the authorities. It sounds extremely scary. Life filled with fear. So is this the reason why you left Uganda?
Yes, that's the reason why I left Uganda.
What did you leave behind?
I left Uganda trying to save my life. And I left my family behind. I left behind 2 daughters. I had 2 daughters. And my parents, who had already disowned me, but still their family.
You said your parents disowned you. Why did they disown you? And when?
So before I left Uganda, I was arrested because of being a lesbian. So as I talked about the community before, when my parents knew they are part of the community, so they had to disown me because they didn't believe who I am. So that's why I left. And up to now, they are still disowning. They can't believe.
How did you manage to escape? You said you were arrested.
So when I got arrested with my friend, they arrested us and they kept us like 2 weeks hospital because we were really beaten. So we went to the hospital like for 1-2 weeks, and then we came back to the police station. And the brother of my girlfriend had to bribe the policeman. So that's how we left. And when we left, he took the sister and got me somewhere to stay. where I stayed for 3 days. And after that, I called a friend who knew, and she helped me staying in her house. But when I was there, she knew why I'm there. I told her what had happened. So she said, I can't keep you here because if they know that you are here, it will be another problem for me because they don't know me, that I'm a lesbian also. So she had to look for ways like I leave her house where I had nowhere to go else. So that's when she planned with another friend for me to leave the country. And they decided we can try maybe UK or America. So that's how I left the country.
How is it for you to remember? I mean, you went through, this was a really dangerous time. I guess you probably didn't know what's going to happen with you next. How is it for you to even remember this part of your life?
I still remember all this because that's the journey I went through up to now where I am now. So whenever I think of it, it's not really easy. In 1 month, what you have been going through in Uganda is like hell. Because even the time when my friend was accommodating me, in one time, the police came. So it looked like they were looking for me. Like somebody had spotted that I'm there. That's why she tried to look for all means so that I can leave the country before she also gets in trouble. So whenever I think of it and coming here, although I didn't know where I was going, but just to leave the country to save my life. So the first step, it really puts me off, but on the other side, there was no solution. There's nothing to do, you just keep going on because if you are here, it's the same story. You start from where you started from, which is hurting, going to jail because of being a lesbian.
And how did you end up in England? How was it getting to England?
So coming to England, after my friend had organized all this with another friend who looked for all solutions so that I can leave, they got the visa for me. And they told me that you are leaving in such a day. It was like in 2 days after she told me that, get ready, you are going. She didn't tell me where I'm going. So as I was like looking for a safe place to be, I couldn't mind where I was going until when I was on my way to the airport. That's when they told me, we are going to London or America. So they were not sure where we were going, but we had the visas for London and America. And then we landed in London, where we stayed for 1 week. And then I think she was still looking where to leave me. It wasn't working in London from where we were staying for that 1 week. And then she said, let's try America and see. So we went to America. We were there for 2 weeks. She told the friend the whole story why we are there. So she said, I have to tell them. If they accept, they accept. So in America, the friend also didn't accept. She said, no, you can't leave her here. So she said, I can't leave you here also, where I thought it would be a safe place for you. We came back to England. And she got another friend also. We were there. They accepted to keep me. And she left. She went back home. She just left me there. But after telling the friends.
How was that time for you? I mean, I'm listening to this. You know, you're coming from a country where you are not wanted, where you are the enemy number one, and then you flee for your life, try to save your life, and come to London and find it hard that someone accepts you, and then go to America, and then you're again, it seems like there is a lot of rejection. How was that for you?
It was really hard because it looked like, although I've escaped from Uganda, but I was like I'm still in Uganda. All the friends we were going through so that she can get me accommodated, they were also Ugandans. So the one in America, the friend in America, when she refused, so that one came really hard because I started thinking, now I left Uganda, thinking where I'm going, it will be easier for me, but nobody wants to accommodate me. And what she did, it was right to tell them the right thing, why I've left Uganda. But the one in America couldn't accept. So she said, let's go back to England. So when we got to England, she said, I'm not going to tell them why. Because if we tell them the proper reason, they won't accept. And her time to go back was coming soon. So she just told her that I am leaving her here. I will be back, check on her. Just help me and keep her here. She didn't tell them the reason. And then they accepted to leave me there. So the time I was in England for those first months, it was really, really hard because you are thinking of where you are coming from. And you are in the same people from Uganda who don't know why you are here. So you are thinking, what if they get to know from home? Again, I will be going on the street. So my mind wasn't settled. I was just thinking of what I came from through. But thank God, it didn't happen. I just started getting settled in the country until I started being myself, saying, now you're a new country, but still scared. No moving out, just being in the house as a new person and with your own issues. It was really a hard thing to start with.
Yeah. Wow, from what I hear is how hard it was, where the fear just continued at least the first few months when you came here, because you still didn't know what's going to happen. What are the people going to do? Is anyone going to send you back? So what happened after these few months? How did life go on for you?
Life went on, like not acting like a lesbian anyway, but life had to go on, moving from addresses to addresses. You are here, you can't work, and people who are accommodating you, they expect you to be like helping out, supporting, or paying something. So that also put my life not being easy. That's why I started moving from friends to friends. And those friends, unknown through those friends who have been accommodating me. So that's why I say I have to keep quiet, because if you tell them who you are, they won't accommodate you. And I had no way to survive other than I would have been on the streets. So we went on like that for years, staying with friends, until at a time I started reading stories about LGBT. And that's when I started getting back the courage to gather myself to say, no, what I've gone through now is enough. I have to be who I am. And then I met a friend who we met in a church. She was talking about MCC. I don't know how we connected, but she was coming in the same church, which is not MCC, is St. Mary's. And then she was also going to MCC. So in one time she talked about MCC. I didn't ask anything. So another time she said she's going to MCC later. And then that's when I started slowly asking, what's in MCC? Can I join? Can I come? So she was also scared to tell me, like we are all from Ugandans, you are still all in fear. She first couldn't open up what MCC is. She just saying, it's another church. It's a church there where we go. So until later I say, I need to go with you. She said she will, and then she didn't. Whenever we make an appointment, it's cancelled. And then later she said, okay, let's go. But I don't know if you will fit there. She didn't know what I am, who I am. And then we went there to MCC. But on the bus, and then she started telling me why she goes to MCC. I went to MCC. I was welcomed. And I found like MCC became a family. Yeah.
How is it after so many years to come to MCC and experience the freedom of being able to be who you are? What is that like?
So when it's like you are like born again from gathering yourself to a normal person you want to be and meeting people who are like you, who are welcoming. So since that day, I feel like I'm myself.
You told me that there are still many challenges for you. But can you tell us in general, like what is life like for you now in London?
Life is not easy. I'm a refugee now, but according to the journey I went through to be a refugee, it's also not easy. as I started in England alone, the challenges you get when you are still an asylum seeker, they can even put you off if you are not really standing on your two legs. As I spoke, I moved in so many addresses which I can't even count. The challenges in those things are also not good, because people start using you in any way, abusing you. And then when you start the process of opening up to be an asylum seeker, the UK government also gives you that, puts in you something like to put you down. First of all, they don't believe. You're already out and you go for seeking asylum, where you think you are now a free person, you're already out. But in this process of seeking asylum, the authorities, the UK government, the way they treat people who are seeking asylum, it's even hard. The way they treat you is like you are not a person. Which makes you like the way you started telling me that, how do you feel when you think of what happened in Uganda? They make you feel like you are nothing. You tell them what you have gone through. You just ran out from the country, you came out of the country to survive. I don't think that you can remember even to pick one of your knickers that I don't have a knicker when you are running. But all these things, they start asking you, bring evidence from home. All those things just trigger your mind and you don't know what to do. They deny. They need evidence which is not even accountable for. So you go in the process of seeking asylum and your mental health is just thinking of what next. And at the end, when they accept, you get granted you're a refugee. You go in the process like, I haven't been in the government accommodation, but you are like, you get granted today, in 2 weeks they tell you, move out of the house. Where are you going? Now I'm a refugee. You are looking for work, which you can't get in one day. They need experience for 5 years. I've been struggling with asylum. Seeking housing is also another journey. So you see, like you are getting from asylum, being a refugee is also hard. It's not easy. And now there is COVID. They want you to start working. There's no jobs.
Yeah.
So when you are still seeking asylum, you think when I am a refugee, everything will be smooth. You just say, now I'm a refugee, I'm a British. But no. you're still in the same process. Provide evidence. Provide this. How long have you been in the country? Bring this from the 5 years. Sorry. So that also is like you are still seeking asylum, which is really not easy for the refugees.
Yeah. I'm deeply touched by what you are sharing. And I hear this deep longing of just being a person and seen as a person who just wants to live a safe life and be recognized as an equal person who wants to work and longs to work and be part of society. And it's hard. All these years, what I hear is how much you are constantly hitting the wall. How do you keep on going in this? I mean, I'm trying to imagine how strong you are because I'm just in awe of, what you went through and are still going through. What keeps you going?
As I say, as a person, you have to say, I need to keep moving. But I can't keep moving by myself. So I'm thankful I joined some organizations. As I mentioned, first of all, you follow your faith. I joined MCC. That was like the first journey. And then other organizations. Anyway, I have even 2 churches. I have MCC and then St. James's Church. So following my faith also keeps me moving. And then I have other organizations like Outcome, Women for Refugee, Out and Proud, Micro Rainbow. So there are so many organizations that I'm getting involved in, which is really, really helpful and thankful. I thank them for being there for me. Because if it wasn't these organizations that I'm getting involved in, I think I wouldn't be where I am now. They are my family now.
I'm so glad that you have this support and that there are people who are around you and with you. And as you said, your new family after you had to leave everyone and everything behind you. There is one question that came to my mind that I probably should have asked before, but coming back to your story of Uganda, how is it in such a situation? It's for us, it's always harder to actually know what is happening with us. Why are we different? What is different? We know, we sense there is something different about us, but sometimes it's hard to accept ourselves and also to realize, oh, I'm gay, oh, I'm lesbian or trans or whatever. How is this in Uganda to even accept yourself or recognize that you are lesbian or gay or any other letter?
It's hard to accept because, first of all, the people who are surrounding you, they don't accept, and they try to make it harder for you. Even if you accept that you are this, they keep pushing. Like when they start suspecting, they force you to get married. So forcing you to get married, that's one thing where they start pushing you. thinking like if you get married, hopefully you will change, which is not true. If you are who you are, you can't change.
Yeah. Is that what happened to you too? Because you were married too? Were you married?
Yes, I was also forced to get married because of that. They were suspecting that I am a lesbian, or being with a close friend all the time. We were friends from primary school, and then we continued, and she was a neighbor also. So we were too close. And when they suspected, that's when they told me to get married. They looked for a man and they forced me to go and get married. Whereby the marriage wasn't really easy, like being forced in something. But the good thing, with the support of my girlfriend, the marriage wasn't easy, but she kept supporting up to the last minute when we were caught.
So there are people who, we Westerners like to think of ourselves that we are the saviors of the world and then do a lot of damage. And one thing I also want to help people is to understand what are the best ways to help. So, if there are people who would like to help, even either the people that are still in Uganda or people who are refugees like you because of their circumstances, what is the best way for people to help? What can they do?
Like people in Uganda, you just tell them to continue to be who you are. Although the country doesn't accept anybody to be LGBT, but if you know that you are an LGBT, you continue to believe who you are. Time will come, I'm talking about Uganda, when things change. The president won't be there for good. So anytime another president will come and take over and accept that LGBT people are also people. And all things will be okay. And in the UK, I just say like the authority, especially the Home Office, they have to understand when they are questioning people. Because going through all this and you start asking somebody questions that you don't believe you, I don't believe you, you are lying. It's just a matter of understanding that we are also human beings. Which is hard. They have to understand that LGBT people go through a lot, especially people who have been persecuted. So they need to ease up with their questions. You can't deny somebody like 4 times, bringing different evidence. But because they have denied during the interview for the first time, they refuse. That means they are going to refuse whenever you go in court. They follow the first interview where they refused, because they refuse. And because of a small mistake, you don't have enough evidence. Asking you like, you have been in this country for 5 years. Why didn't you join oh, why didn't you come out like a lesbian? And you have already explained your journey. You can't just come in the country and bump out that I'm a lesbian, whereby even you don't know the law by then. And you are still in fear of what you are coming through. But because they can't believe you because you didn't come out as soon as possible as you came to England, that means you are lying. They have to understand what people go through.
Yeah, you would like them to kind of see that there is a whole good reason why people don't come out when they come deeply traumatized from a country like Uganda, and where they're scared for their lives, that they are aware of what people are going through in that country, and understand that after going through all of this, it's not easy to come to a different country. And although there is no problem in this country, it's still hard for the people who are so deeply traumatized.
Yeah. They just need to understand what people go through.
What about someone like me, if I would like to help the people from Uganda, or even if I meet a refugee from Uganda, what is the best thing for me to do? How can I help them best?
I think the help depends on the individual. They are like some people who are still are scared of coming out. But it's just a matter of getting involved, like listening to other people, how they came out. Because if you are like me, I got the confidence of being who I am because of the organizations where I go and meet different people with different stories. So that lifts you up. So it depends on individually where they need needs. But especially the beginning is the hardest part, how to come out. So if you get involved and get to know the system, how it works, and listen to different stories of people. Because like me, I could say, oh, I'm really bad off. I went through this. But you meet somebody who has never even got any friend or anybody or any church helping out, like, can we accommodate somebody? The person is on the street, no food. But at least you say, oh, I'm also thankful that I can go like in Red Cross and get some food. But some people can't get there. So I think that's the way people can help.
Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you would like to tell the viewers and listeners of this podcast? A message or anything else that you would like to share?
Just want to tell, especially the asylum seekers, to believe in whatever they listen from the others, take whatever helps you, and believe in who you are. That will just help.
Thank you so much. As you heard, dear viewers and listeners, one important thing how we can help is that people actually hear the stories of refugees and asylum seekers, that share their stories, and that they can get encouraged. But believe me, dear Monika, you didn't just encourage asylum seekers and refugees. And I hope that someone will be able to see this, to hear your story and be encouraged by it. But I feel deeply touched and encouraged and honored that I could sit here and hear your story. Thank you. Yeah, I don't even know how to thank you. I feel so humbled by what you were telling and your journey that you shared, and that you were willing to share it. So yeah, spread the word. Let other people know about this podcast, that they might be encouraged by stories like Monika's. And what else is there to say but to thank you all for tuning in, for being with us, listening to me and Monika, to our conversation. Thank you, Monika.
You're welcome.
Again, for accepting this invitation and sharing your story. As always, if there are any links, and Monika mentioned some organizations and also MCC that were really helpful to you, I really hope to share these links too with others. So if they come across the video, they can easily find these organizations and get some support for themselves. If you have any questions or suggestions, you can contact me through the Priceless webpage, and the link is, of course, in the podcast description. As said in the beginning, if you want to support this podcast and or the European Forum, you can also find how to do it in the podcast description. My name is Michael Secen. This was the Priceless podcast in partnership with the European Forum. See you next Monday. Bye, everyone.